In this video, we will be talking about safety in the mountains and enjoying the mountains as much as you possibly can. And I think those two things go hand in hand. If you be safe and you're well prepared, you're gonna enjoy the outdoor space in terms of mountains much more. Before we get going on the top tips, my name is Keith. I've done lots of ultra marathons in the mountains, as well as spent lots of time in the outdoors in various locations in the UK and around Europe. Some of it has been UTMB Snowdonia. Most recently, I've done the Arc of Attrition in Cornwall, which is a 104-mile winter race. I did it in January the 23rd for 33 hours non-stop in Storm Ingrid, where it was biblical conditions out there with very bad terrain. I've also done Swiss Alps 100, so done some alpine stuff as well in the summer. So I've really gone from lots of different conditions in terms of trails, but also different conditions in terms of mountains, coastal paths, and different types of weather, being winter, spring, and summer. So let's get into some of the tips. The first tip would be look at the weather and look at the location you're going to be going outside in. Look at the good weather apps, whether it's Met Office or BBC, or you may have other apps there, and look at the weather at sea level around that day or time you're going to be going and hiking, running or walking in the mountains, and look at the sort of the different elevations you're going to be going up to, including the summit, to see what the weather is like and feels like at the summit of where you're going to be hiking to. Those things are important because the weather may look brilliant down at sea level where you parked your car, and it will look very different, or could look very different at the summit, and it could be a very different experience. Also the terrain. Is it rocky? Maybe go on the course reviews and look at the type of terrain, because you wouldn't be wanting to wear flip-flops if you're going up some of the Welsh mountains, for example. I know we know that it sounds silly, but we've probably all seen those people with designer shoes or flip-flops going up those mountains, and it really isn't a good idea. First and foremost, so weather, and look at the trail you're going, because then that dictates second thing, which is your running, walking, hiking clothing you will wear as you go on your adventure. So that will dictate whether you're starting off in waterproof trousers or waterproof jacket, or beanie and a hat, gloves, versus not wearing those sort of things. You might be wearing shorts, a t-shirt, and you may have then stuff packed in your bag for different scenarios that could happen during that day. So then you've got your current clothing that you'll be wearing and starting off in. Make sure they are adequate, so the right shoes for the right terrain. You may want poles depending on the kind of trail you're going to be going into. And then you may want certain socks. Don't try all new things going up the mountain. Make sure you've tested and proven this equipment or running stuff that you're going to be using before you head out into the outdoors. But whatever that first part of the running gear is, think about it and make sure you've tested it and proven much of it. The other area is then your spare clothing. So this is what you're going to be carrying with you just in case it gets wetter, it rains, or it gets cold, or you're out there for a certain extended periods of time. So advice on that would be, have a good backpack. Obviously, you're going to have to take some fluids. You may take less in the winter or more in the summer, but also you may want, for example, fluids or flasks in your bag. You may want filters, because it might be really hot. If there's no aid out there in the mountains, which there usually isn't, I haven't seen that many shops selling you bottles of Coke halfway up or at a summit. So take on filters with your bottle, so you can fill up on a stream, filter the water and drink it, because there's nothing worse than being dehydrated. So the first thing is bag, and then fluids. You then got to think about nutrition, calories. So you've got your drinks, you've got your bag, but then you've also got calories. I would recommend at least 700 to 800 dense calories that will give you good energy. So it could be Mars bars, it could be flapjacks, it could be rice pudding, it could be whatever you think is going to give you a good high quality amount of calories. And then you've got sort of like your spare clothing. In your spare clothing, make sure you take, if it's summer, very different versus winter, but let's say it's winter, and sometimes even in the summer it can get incredibly cold at the top if it's raining as well. In the spare clothing you take, make sure you've got maybe a spare base layer, spare gilet, Primaloft. So Primaloft is a piece of sort of like technical, sort of like synthetic, which if it gets wet, it doesn't clump up with all these different fibers, and keep wet and make you cold and get heavy. It stays quite light. And you may want to take another sort of like layer of full long sleeved, which could be thermal. And then you may want to take a spare hat. You may want to take a spare set of gloves. And you may already be walking in or running in the gloves, but you may want to take another spare set of gloves, which could be maybe waterproof, for example. You may want to be taking leggings if you're not already in them. You may want to be taking sort of like waterproof trousers, maybe a spare set of socks. So there's like the clothing that you may need, and I would put as many layers in as possible, and the right layers. So I wouldn't be putting a big hoodie in there that's cotton, because a big hoodie with cotton either wearing or in your backpack is going to take a lot of space, and if it gets wet it is going to give you nightmares, literally, because you're just going to get a cold. It's going to hold on to everything. Then in your spare sort of like clothing or bag, you'd also have equipment, and that spare equipment will be things like a torch, because you may get stuck somewhere, or something may happen, a scenario may happen where you get lost and you're out and it starts getting dark. You're going to want to make sure you've got light, where you can sort of like make sure you are safe and you can see where you're going and get to where you need to get to. I'd also take first aid, because you may cut yourself. I've been on trails where I've slammed my hand into a flint and it's sliced my hand open, and I've needed to sort of like, sort that out so I don't sort of like keep bleeding. So yes, there's just things that can happen. So first aid is important, but also there may be someone else on the trails that might need help as well. So you're in a position to help them too. The other thing I would take is a bivy bag. If something does happen to you or someone else, that person can get into a whole kind of like heat bag and pack up really small. They're better than an emergency blanket, because an emergency blanket, you got to hold it on and it doesn't cover your whole body, and it can flap and it's inconvenient, and it's not going to keep your whole body top to bottom. A lot of these first aid bags, which they come in little mini things, or a bivy bag, come with whistle, so you'd have a whistle there as well. Things I'd have in there would be maybe a compass. And I'd also maybe take, even for your head torch, if you've got a head torch or a torch, maybe spare batteries as well, because you never know how long you're going to be out there, and also how long have you tested that your head torch or torch actually works. Is it 3 hours, 2 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours? Because you could be out there for a long time. And I've actually done, even at the Ark of Attrition, I had a really nice head torch. It actually faulted, and I had to carry my spare head torch. Thankfully I had put that on, because I had another something like 13 hours of darkness that I needed to get through before light came again. So good job I had a spare. So scenario plan, what if? Ask yourself constantly, what if this happened? So take the spare equipment, and with this equipment, whether it's clothes or head torches, I'd take dry bags, put it all into dry bags, and I'd have dry bag for my clothes, a dry bag for the equipment. You can buy them online, you can buy them in most outdoor places, because what you wouldn't want to happen is you've got all your spare stuff and then it rains and all of your spare clothes are just soaking wet. And if you need to put anything on, there's no point in doing it, because it's already wet and it's going to be horrible. You're going to be even more miserable, and then you could get into trouble. So get dry bags, put it in there. You can roll them up, compress it, get all the air out, seal it up, put it into your backpack. And if you need them, they're going to be nice and dry and give you that comfort and warmth that you need. The last thing I would suggest is location. And location is a couple of things. One is share your location with someone else, either that you're hiking with, and I'd also give it to someone that's either gone on the journey with you, that may be back in the hotel, or give it to a family or friend member and let them know what you're doing, when you're leaving, and when you're expected to come back and where you're going to be. So if anything does happen or they want to check up on you, they can see exactly where you are, whether you're nearby the finish, which will give them a lot of satisfaction and sort of like make them feel better, or if you're at the top of the summit and you're staying there for a while, or you're staying somewhere for a period of time. Obviously they can sort of like call you or try and get in touch somehow. Emergency services need to find you the location there for you, and on location there's things like what 3 words help you as well. So if you was in trouble and you still can message, you can give them the location of these 3 words, and then they can get your precise point. And the other part of location is navigation. So I would either have a watch and download the course that you're going to do. You can get these courses online with a GPX file or whatever it is, lots of different places or on different apps, find routes, download it onto a device. It could be your watch, it could be your mobile, and then make sure you know exactly where to go, where you are. And if you do get lost, it will tell you you're lost and it will put you back onto the trail you need to be on. But don't rely on network. You need it to be sort of like network free. So if you don't have like 4G, 5G, whatever it is, you can still get to where you need to be. The reason being is when you're up in the mountains, weather can change. Your visibility can go from 50 meters, 2 miles to literally 1 meter to 4 meters and misty. And you may think you're going the right way, but you may be going literally on a completely different direction to where you should be going, and you could either go on a pretty bad trail, which is going to be dangerous, or you just keep on heading somewhere and then it's an hour before you realize that you're going in the wrong direction. Then you have to turn around, go back an hour. That's lost 2 hours. It could be even more. Then it's starting to get dark. Location, navigation, knowing where you are, and also doing that preview before you even leave for the mountain. Preview the course, preview the local towns or different sort of like north, what's west. So having a compass is always a good idea, so you know really where you need to go. And then if you're prepared, this doesn't need to take up a lot of time or best practice to be out in the mountains, respect them, and know that mountain conditions can change. You need to write down those scenarios of what if I got lost, what if I got injured, what if my friend got injured and I was out there for a long period of time. What would I do? How would I survive? What contingency would I need? Could I call someone? Could I keep warm? Would I know where I am at? These things are really, really important to scenario plan and prepare accordingly. Hopefully this has helped, and if you do all of that, you can have lots of fun. I love the outdoors, I love the mountains, I love the fresh air, I love the freedom of it, I love meeting people, I love exploring. And my last piece, talking about exploring, is knowing when to make a decision. Making good decisions. We all want to get to the summit, we all want to kind of like achieve what we want to achieve, but making good decisions to say, should I be doing this? There's challenging yourself, but there's also being stupid. I've actually gone to some summits and had to bow twice recently because I had to make a decision, not for myself, but for someone else, to say, they're not going to make this. I need to sort of like make a decision, and we went down because there's always another day. There's always another day. So make good decisions. Always primarily safety first rather than summit first. Safety first, summit second. Hopefully this is helpful. If you've got any other advice, drop me in the comments. We'd love to know.